Where do you want me, coach? Just put me in.
In the air to right, and he did it again!
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow.
Welcome back to the Lefties 2 broadcast, and we're going to be doing best positions for the common players. This is for new players out there that are trying to level up their players, where to put them, and even where to put them in your lineup to be the most effective player you can be. So let's get into it right now. Hold right, let's go right away into it. So let's fix the rarity here. Okay, so we have common players, right? They're all right there. There's not a lot of common players in the game. Right? Like it's pretty easy. You see 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 common players. Okay. Now, how it's broken up, you got 3 pitchers, you got 3 catchers, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 6 outfielders and 6 infielders. Pretty even across the board. Now, a lot of new players, you see the shiny gold players, right? You see them and you're like, oh my God, I want to stack my whole lineup with all the gold and purple ones. I want to get it. But again, it's not realistic to play if you're going to grind. If you're going to grind in this game, it's not realistic to to max out, right? Uh, all the gold. You're not going to do it. Even when we first started, it took like a year to get a level 13 legendary player, and now it's going to take even longer, especially if you're playing for free, right? But the best way to get your rare players leveled up, number 1, join a club. Number 2, play all the tasks, winning streak, all that kind of stuff. Fill up your chest, play, and then of course request them, because everyone pretty much has every single rare card except maybe Rama and Rose as their 2 event cards that are still not in chests. But the video today is to tell you each player where they go within your lineup and how to use them effectively. And again, only 18 players, so this shouldn't take too long. And of course, we can take away 6 because we already know each pitcher slash catcher, they can't be moved either way. So infield, really easy. Outfield, easy, right? But again, you don't have to have your whole team as a lineup as commons, right? Miss and match a few different ones, right? That's easy. But I'm going to tell you each one as we go. Again, starting with the infield, we're going to start with Alexandria, okay? Now, for a lot of people, man, you need a good power hitter with some speed, right? She doesn't have a lot of contact, of course. And then, of course, with bases loaded, right? So typically, uh, again, this is, if you've seen my videos, you know my belief system on how this works, right? And I'm not setting this lineup up as I'm using up every single lineup as a common. Just if you're going to add her in your lineup, which a lot of top players do, because the power is there and the speed. Okay. So now, where does she at? She bats left. Okay, great. Throws left. So effectively, right, she would most effectively be. All right, so looking at Alexandra, where would she effectively be best at? In my opinion, if you're going to put her in your lineup, right, first base is her best position because of the left hand. It's easier to make the play. But all right, so let's take a look real quick. Her throwing at max level 14, right? You got to incorporate the +8. Someone the other day said, why are you doing that? Don't need to get into it. But again, when she gets to 14, her throwing is now 186. That is pretty solid. So then, where is it, right? Her fielding, 1673 max, right? Still pretty low. But if you wanted to have her in the lineup with that throwing at 186, you could put her at third base. Again, fielding's pretty atrocious, right? And you could put her at, I'd say, even shortstop, right? Because of her speed. At second base, again, I guess, but the top 2 positions, right, that I would put her at would be first base, number 1, and then third base. Again, third baseman, they make a weird throw, but again, that speed and her throwing is going to help with some of those dribblers, just the footwork. Now, the batting order. Where would you put Alexandra in your batting order? Now, again, you want to obviously take into account that her skill is with bases loaded, right? And if you're going to have a lineup with a whole bunch of power hitters already, fine. So the best bet to get her going, right, to get that would be in that either I think the 6 hole or the 5 hole in general. So ideally, if you go 1, 2, 3, say in the ninth inning, you come in the 10th, and maybe they walk or you get a single with your 4th hole hitter, and now you have Alexandra there, right? That's where you kind of ideally, if you're going to put someone ahead of her, like fifth, a lot of people put Kevin, right? That's the number one 4-hole hitter in the game. Kevin, people walk him. Alexandra's there, bases are loaded, right? 6th or 5th would be the prime position. Now, a lot of top players in the world bat her leadoff, right? Now, one, I cannot prove this. I mean, I've done some studies, but I don't have actual statistics with the algorithm. But batting someone leadoff typically gives you a better opportunity to get hits because the game is all about offense more than pitching in general. So batting someone with 196 speed, and again, at the top level, she's going to be at 205 speed with that power. So again, if you're a person that goes into deep like games, you're not a great hitter, right? And say you're going 11th and 12th inning consistently, she becomes a solid leadoff hitter because she's going to come back around potentially and get 2 at-bats in the game if you're going long, right? If you're a player that ends the game in the 9th or 10th consistently, again, 5th or 6th is her best bet, right? So there's Alexandra. Let's keep it going. We're going to go over to Hanzo. Hanzo for me is pretty easy in the sense of it all, right? His contact at max level 182, 169 power, 192 speed. Throwing is going to be 202, fielding 216, right? Now, this is easy, right? Hanzo is going to be your shortstop or your third baseman. Anywhere else is a waste. First base, waste. Second base, a waste. No matter who you have in your lineup, he is the premium shortstop in the game at a common level. He's not going to get you a lot of hits. He's going to be your 8 or 9 hole hitter, right? Even at a max level, 169, typically the max pitchers, just give you an idea real quick, a max pitcher, right, that's not Shitaro or Jeho, is at 179 power, right? And he's at 169 power, so he's under that. Now his contact is going to be at 182, so a little bit more of a contact hitter. But again, he's going to be your 8 or 9 hole hitter. So Hanzo, short or third base, obviously that skill with that fielding ability and the throwing is going to help him there. Offensive liability, 8, 9 hole hitter, shortstop. That's super simple. All right, now let's go to Smithington. All right, now take a look real quick at his stats. Right, if you're a player, contact high, speed high. Already know, we're going to the hitting right away. Right-handed hitter. He's going to be your leadoff guy. Right, his skill, a little extra speed burst to first base, so solid bunter, slap hitter. He's going to get you a lot of bloops, not a lot of power. And now, the most effective thing here to look at is his defense. Defensive throwing liability. Building is going to be at 182. So 182. This is again, a fielding ability is pretty good. Throwing, not great. So he's not going to make those good, solid throws. So your best bet here, right, is second base. Right? He's going to make some decent plays at second base. He's not going to turn a lot of double plays, right? So the second spot for him would be at third base, right? Right-hander, right? He's going to have a good speed, kind of like Gina, with that high speed at 222. Gina's a lot more, I think 232 maxed out at level 14. But third base with the fielding, that's a good spot. He's not going to make the hard throws. But again, if you need a second spot for him, third base is where it's going to be because the speed might help at least get those dribblers and make maybe a decent throw. But second base, the best spot for Smith. All right. Rodriguez. Okay, we're going to go look at Rodriguez. That's a little slip there. Rodriguez, okay, again, they boosted his offense in recent months here. Contact is going to be 186 maxed out power, still at 173. Pretty low. Again, lower than pitchers, but against left-handed pitchers, I think there's about 7 in this game. So 1/3 of the pitchers, he's going to have effective power. 38 plus power, which is pretty solid with your left-handed pitchers. Now, throwing and fielding, his two best spots, again, 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it, one uppercase, one lowercase a. Doesn't matter. He's going to be like Hanzo. He's going to be a third or a shortstop. That's it, right? He has a cannon of an arm at 205 and fielding even better at 212. Shortstop, third base is your best bet for Rodriguez. Okay, keep it going. We're going to Brock Brockington. Yeah, that's his name. I figured that's his last name, right? Now, Brock is, again, one of the better, like, underrated players in this game with his contact. Look at his contact. 205 at 14, power, right? It's going to be 196. Speed above average speed, got about 182. Throwing, right? Not great. 173. And then 205 fielding, which is amazing. Opponents, so now he has a clutch skill when opponents are in fielding, a scoring position. Fielding goes up 40, so it's going to be about a 245, right? Not a great thrower. So Brock, really, he's going to be your best bet at second base, okay? Second base is going to be your best spot for him. A good, strong power hitter, contact hitter is going to come through in the clutch. And again, when you're playing 10th, 11th, 12th inning, you want to have somebody that's already going to be suited for not making any errors for you. Now, again, depending on your whole lineup, this is not meant to have every single player as a common. It's really meant if you're going to have one or two commons, or if you're a rookie and you can't afford to have the other players, and you want one good player out there. Brock, again, one of the most underrated players in the game. Best bet, second base, really. I don't really see him at third or because of speed or a shortstop, right? Second base is his spot. Okay. Now we got to go to Terry. Poor Terry. Again, another underrated kind of player when it comes to defense, and mainly because his skill is one of the worst skills in the game. Because after a bunt, his speed burst goes 20. So, a 216 maxed out, that's pretty good. Now, 236 to go to first base on a bunt, he essentially becomes Smith, right? He essentially becomes Smith. Now, there was a glitch that you could just kind of bunt two foul balls and the speed would boost up 20, 20, 20. So then you can get essentially 60 plus speed, which is insane, but they fixed that. Now, contact 192 and then power 169. So low power, throwing 179, fielding 205. So batting left, throwing right. Okay. Now, again, Terry, you're only really in there. He's underappreciated because if you're going to put a player like that in, you might as well put Hanzo in with defense. Again, I'm pretty good with Terry, but that was in the days where the bots were really terrible and I was kind of doing bunting stuff. But Terry, again, you're going to put Terry, again, another second baseman, just because his fielding's pretty solid, throwing a little lower. Again, you could put him over there at third base because of that extra speed, right? So Terry could be a second baseman or a third baseman secondarily. But again, there's so many players in this game that are better than Terry, even at the common level, that he's a forgotten player, sadly. That's just the way it goes. So I believe that is it for the infielders, okay? So if you have any questions, again, with the infield, just kind of post that in the chat. Now let's go to the outfielders. It's a little bit different because a lot of people, again, for me, let's start with I think the best common player in the game. Out of all 18 common players, the most valuable common player in this game today, even a top 25 player out of the 100 players in the game. Now, again, as an outfielder, they're bringing in 101st player is going to be a guy named Justice, a.k.a. Aaron Judge. So, he kind of goes down a little bit more just on that ability. But contact at max level 202. They boosted his contact, boosted his offense a lot. Fielding and throwing, he is terrible. So he's not in there at all for that. Speed 232 means one of the fastest players alive. And going with that power slide, even though they reduced it by 5%, right? So defensive liability, you could put him here at left field, right? Left field is going to boost a better spot. You can have him at center field if you want, just because of that speed. But again, he's not going to make any good throws for you at all. So center field is secondary. I would put him there at left field. But starting with Neville, he is a player that you should be leveling up no matter if you're a rookie or if you are a veteran player and want a little bit of speed in your lineup, right? I recommend Neville to every single person in the game. We're starting him out first. All right, now let's keep it going here with Alexander. Alexander, similar but a lot less power. Again, better on the throwing, better throwing at 179 maxed out. Fielding still pretty terrible. Now, here's a common thing. Most fielding in the outfield is pretty crappy in general. It's not that important. The game has not made it important enough. Throwing is a better attribute. So fielding really isn't that important. Throwing is a little bit more in the outfield. Obviously, contact's going to be 212 and speed 232, which if you compare them with Neville at that level 14, they're the same speed, but Alexander is going to be a better overall thrower, which makes him a prime spot for that center field, right? A better arm, right? And again, I typically reserve right field as the better throwers in the game, right? So you have Alexander sitting there at center field, and then again, you could put him over there at left if you want, but his speed at 232 is going to be able. And again, if you match him up with, say, Chris in the outfield, adding a little speed burst is pretty cool. But again, we're only focused on commons and where to put individually each one. So Alexander, another player that a top tier players use just because of his skill to be able to tag on pop flies. So he's able to kind of steal bases within the game. So pretty solid. All right, let's go to Rama, an event card. Hard to level up unless you're in a club that has them. Power is not there. Contact not there. Contact again, 176. Power 173, which at 14 makes him lower than everybody, even pitchers. Speed and throwing. Again, fielding at 169. So Rama is a player you put in to right field. But again, his skill is only brought on a fly ball caught, right? So it really, I can go a lot of games and never get a fly ball to him with people on base. But when it comes into play, it is pretty cool. So Rama, again, right field or center field is your best spot for him. 9-hole hitter, right? Again, we forgot to do that with Neville, right? Where to put Neville in the batting lineup, right? We'll do all three of these guys real quick. So Alexander and Neville can both be your leadoff hitters. Rama is going to be typically your 9-hole hitter. All right? Simple as that. Done deal. My bad. Forgot it. Put that in there. Neville, Alexander, one leadoff hitters with their ability to make some contact. Even Neville, again, with that extra power now, you can put him in the 2 spot as well if you want to have, say, like Annie in your leadoff spot, someone who's high contact, high speed. All right, let's go to Phoenix. Right, Phoenix, another boost that she got last month with her contact going to 192 maxed out, which makes her much more valuable. And of course, with her plus 24 speed. Now, when stealing. So she's kind of like Antonio, kind of like Fox in a way, not as always a guarantee stolen base. I do, in fact, I like the fact that a lot of top players do use her. Power 169, speed again, like I said, throwing is the main thing here at 216. So again, she's going to be suited in your center field or your right field spot. Now, again, if you look at the algorithm, you can definitely have her there at leadoff. Yeah, not great because at 192, there's a lot more better options. So she's going to be a lot of times your 8-hole, even sometimes a 9-hole, depending on if you're using Shitaro or Jeho as your pitcher. All right. Now we're going to Michael. Row your boat ashore. Okay, so Michael here, again, probably the second best common player in the game. And again, he's in a lot of top lineups also in the game at 205 contact, 212 power, speed, 196, throwing 179. Fielding again, 169 doesn't matter, right-handed. So he has the advantage over about 2/3 of the pitchers to add that extra contact, right? Making it, I believe, if I do my math correct, plus 18. That's 230. So 230 power, making him really relevant in this game at the rookie level all the way to the veteran level. Now, the only spot that I'm putting him really in the game is here at left field. Now, the cool thing with Michael, a lot of my lineups, he's going to be my second hitter or my third hitter in the lineup with that contact power and extra speed. Again, the dude is clutch. He's going to hit 500, at least 450 if you're auto bat, right? So Michael is a must in your lineup from rookie to veteran, especially if you're playing for free. You're playing for free, right? Okay, now we're going to poor old Russ. Good old Russ. Russ. Russell, again, one of the worst outfielders out there in the game. Contact at 176, power a little bit better, 189, still below anybody relevant. Speed, one of the fastest guys in the game, 232. Throwing, this is the problem. He has high fielding, 189, but you guys notice that fielding is not that important for outfielders at all. So 189 is still not even relevant based off his hitting skills. And then contact with runners in scoring position. So another clutch skill does go up, right? So at 176, that puts him, I think, if I do my math correct, 32, 190 at level 14 with runners in scoring position. But again, 190 and then 189 power with runners in scoring position at the maxed out level. Just compare it. Like Michael's already 1,000 times better, just a little bit slower. I mean, a lot bit slower, but Russell not as valuable. I don't recommend him really in anybody's lineup. But if you're going to have him in the lineup, right, if you're going to have him in there with that speed, he could be your leadoff, but I do highly recommend he would be your 8 or 7 hole hitter because you want to have people in scoring position. But again, it's not going to be as clutch. So later in the game, I would say he's a better 10th or 11th hitting hitter if you have to have an outfielder in there. So Russell, he's going to be there at there. Okay, so that's it for the infield and the outfield. Double check. Now, we'll look at the catchers here. And obviously, you can't really tell them. It's about where are you going to put them in the lineup, right? Pitchers, bat them ninth. All common pitchers. Bat them ninth. All right, now Ricky. Ricky's pretty simple, right? Ricky's skill in regular play in the ninth inning, contact and speed boost. So where does he go in your lineup? Obvious. If you have him in, which I do recommend as a rookie, right, to have him in there, he's going to be your leadoff or your second hole or your third hole, right? Don't recommend the power. So, leadoff or second, right? Good extra speed. That's great. After that, right, Ricky's pretty useless. Throwing 189, not terrible. Now, Rose, a little bit different story. High contact, 222 contact, maxed out, right? Power, not there, it's fine. Speed is going to be 202, right? Throwing is her weakness, which, again, not great. She has high fielding, which is kind of like useless as a catcher for now. Not that important. Her biggest weakness is that throwing ability. But with her offense and speed, again, just like Ricky, right? She's going to go probably at your leadoff, right? With high contact, high speed, a good spot, leadoff, or you're going to bat her 8th or 7th, right? Because again, less power, right? So you can kind of have some good speed at the bottom if you have a better leadoff hitter. But Rose, solid leadoff with that high contact. Now, Tony, the forgotten story here, right? Tony, right? Contact, 196 maxed out. Power, 192. Speed, not important, 176. But throwing is one of the greatest skills. He has 228 maxed out. But again, another clutch skill at 2 strikes, right? If you have a 2 strike, that's a good clutch. Going to add 30 power. So again, 192 at level 14, add 30 to that, right? That's 222 power if I do my math correct. Yep. With that 196 contact. So at 2 strikes, he becomes nasty. You can look at I don't know how many at bats that is, maybe 100 at bats in 4+ years, 638. So he's kind of fun to use. And again, he's a great thrower. So he's going to keep the running down significantly. Now, where to bat Tony in your lineup? with that contact and power, right? Again, there's going to be a lot of options in the game. So I'm thinking you're going to bat him fifth or sixth. Now, if you're in a crunch, right, fifth, sixth, or seventh is where you're going to really put him with the rest of your lineup. But if you're in a crunch and you just don't have anybody, second or third will do just fine. But typically with him, he's probably going to be your sixth, right, or seventh batter in your lineup, right? So again, the pitchers we already know you're going to bat them ninth and you're going to pitch them. That's typically how it's going to go there. So there it is, guys. Common players are valuable in this game. They are extremely valuable. So go out there, put at least one or two common players in your lineup, right? Max them out if you're a rookie, right? If you're going to sit here and play for years and years, the epics, the legendaries will eventually get leveled up. It's going to take harder and harder because they're not going to introduce any more commons or any more rares because it's not financially suitable for Miniclip or NeoWiz to do so, right? That's not how it works. It does work. It does work if you're a rookie and you're grinding. You can get a whole bunch of commons leveled up, even if you pay for maybe 2 season passes in a row, right? Gold, you're going to get these commons leveled up quick, okay? That's my recommendation. Let me know what your thoughts are where you put these common players. Let me know in the comments, okay? Thank you guys for watching on the Lefties 2 broadcast. See you next time.